Hi, and welcome to yet another edition of Ask Miss Judes. I hope you're keeping well. As always, I'm trying to do the same. So, in my last video, I said something about life happening and the numerous things that happened to me last year, good and bad. So, today I thought I'd just share a few lessons from my dad's passing. And I wanted to because the entire experience revealed some truths. And as I connected with friends, I realized that this was true for more than one person. And I thought maybe just sharing it would invite more conversations as well as be an encouragement for others who have not yet had that experience. So last summer, I had three close family members transition within a matter of weeks. The one of whom was my dad. No, my dad was 93 and he had been frail for a bit. So when he passed, I could reflect and be grateful for some of the times we had. And I thought, if I didn't have those experiences, the transition would have hit me a lot differently. So in 2022, for my dad's 92nd birthday, my husband encouraged me to go home and surprise him for his 92nd. I hadn't seen him for a few years. So we went and it was a wonderful time. We shared experiences of our childhood. He insisted on drinking champagne without alcohol because my dad doesn't drink alcohol. So we got sparkling fruit juice and we celebrated. Lots of people came together and we had time to talk through some of what I would have considered unresolved issues that we had. And that was a lifesaver because a year and a few months later, when he passed last year, I could mourn because I was missing him, but not because we had any unresolved issues. And that was true for the two other family members that transitioned last summer as well. I was like, thank God for relationships. And I share this because I do have friends, and I've heard from some of you who had unresolved issues with your loved ones and they pass and you are beating yourselves and you can't go back and fix it. So I thought today I'll be sharing a few lessons from my experiences last summer. One of those, and probably the most primary one, is to cherish your relationships, your family, your friends. Value them. If there are any difficulties or challenges, try and work through them. We have the gift of communication. We have the gift of time. We have the gift of reflection. I often see working through conflict as an opportunity to think of the end goal. So if this is my family member and we have a misunderstanding, we are still family. The end goal is to live as a homogeneous, helpful, loving family. Therefore, we would deal with it. So if you have the end goal, it helps to resolve issues. And what that does is, if for any reason this person transitions suddenly, you're not dealing with regrets or what could I have done differently. So that's one. Value and cherish your family and your friends. The second is the opportunity to stay in touch with family or friends. In the last few weeks, we've also heard news of friends who just dropped and that was their end, right? And if you hadn't stayed in touch, you're like, oh, I wish I had done. So no regrets. Stay in touch. Keep in touch is very important. The third is the importance of vigilance, being vigilant even in times of grief. And for this, I'm going to draw on the example of the actual laying to rest of my dad. Now, I come from a huge family. I have 19 siblings altogether. But as we came together to say goodbye to Daddy, all arrangements, it's a huge operation, logistics and all. What we found, sadly, is that not everyone is honest and people do take advantage of bereaved people. So there were exorbitant charges, there were services that were paid for that were not delivered, there were people who deliberately wanted to extort because they felt, oh, you've come from, a lot of us came from abroad, or therefore you have money. So the sad thing is, even in the face of grief, there were people who were still unscrupulous enough to want to exploit. So my lesson from that is, even in the face of grief, be vigilant, especially when it comes to the preparation and the payment and contracting of stuff and all of that. Another lesson which I so am grateful for is the power of grief or loss to pull people together. So there were family members and friends that I had not seen in decades, and everyone came back together. The joy, even as I'm talking about it now, I feel like I'm going to jump out of my skin. It was such a celebration. I mean, granted, my dad was 93, so, you know, it was really more of a homegoing celebration than I don't want to use the word funeral. It just feels kind of odd for my dad. But the joy of reconnecting, there were cousins I hadn't seen in decades because, of course, I'd been away for so long. And so many of them like, we want to do this again, but now let's look for some happy reason to do it. So the power of that to pull people together. And I say it's the power to pull people together because if you looked at it as a loss, then everyone is sad and focused on the loss rather than an opportunity to celebrate. So that was super. Another thing that another lesson that I learned is that if you are grateful for life, that gratitude can become a fuel, the fuel that engineers other positive things. So just being glad to see people and to reconnect. And we were particularly overjoyed because it was not until my dad passed that we heard some of the amazing things he'd done for people that we didn't even know about. So again, that's the value of being charitable and loving without even making any noise about it, because time and seasons will reveal that who we are in essence. The final thing I'm going to say on this video, because I didn't want it to be long, I'm dying to share some of the pictures and the videos because it was such an awesome celebration, but I won't because I'll have to get permission of everybody in the videos to share it with you. Another thing that I wanted to share is when people reach out to you, appreciate it and be grateful, because that triggers off more opportunities to be grateful. And see what gratitude does. It unlocks something in your spirit that you can't afford to just go and be boring or miserable. Even when you're not when you're supposed to be down, if you think of the things to be grateful for, it unlocks a new spirit in you. So for any of you out there who may be grieving because you've lost a loved one, I would encourage you to reflect on the good times you had with that person, to think about what you can do to keep that person's legacy going. And for those of you who still have all of your loved ones intact, I want to encourage you to cherish and value them. And if you're close to anyone who is bereaved, reach out in love. I cannot begin to express how it made us feel to get all those calls from all over the world when my dad passed. And by the grace of God, I'm doing the same now because I now know the value of being reached out to in times of grief. So that was one of the life things that happened to me. I'm grateful that I didn't have to pass through it alone. I have my family, my husband, as always. Oh Lord, I bless the Lord for him every day. He's super. My children, my siblings, my mom, who's 85 and did very well because, again, she was one of those who totally took care of my dad. So his passing was a bit hard, but it was more gratitude than loss. So thanks again, you, my wonderful online community, for your love. A lot of you reached out to me, and some even sent money to support my dad's passing. I really am grateful to all of you. My prayer is that you will make the most of your relationships and that there will be no need for you to be in grief or sadness should any of your loved ones transition, because you would have made the most of your time with them. Thanks again. And I hope that some of you will share your experiences. I hope they're good and bad. Whatever the experiences are, we can all learn because we're a learning community supporting one another. So as usual, I'm going to encourage you to like, share, and subscribe. And if you have any questions related to this or anything else, you can either post it in the comment section below or send an email to askmissjudes@gmail.com. I really appreciate you all for your amazing support. Thank you. God bless you. Bye.